Hi, beauties. Welcome back to Cultivating Clarity. I am going to touch on more of what we talked about last week, which was identifying your needs and drawing boundaries. So, you may or may not be familiar with the five love languages. And when I'm working with clients, I really love to talk about the five love languages when their need or their boundary involves a person. So I'm going to review the five love languages, dig into them a little bit deeper, and then we're just going to talk about how that shows up in your life and how that is a reflection of the thing that you need and could help you identify that need and that boundary. The five love languages, in no certain order, are acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, physical touch, and quality time. Now, they're all pretty self explanatory, but I find as I dig in a little bit with people, a lot of times they don't understand them fully. So I'm just going to talk about them for a couple minutes. And I do want to let you know that there is a free assessment if you've never done the assessment before. It is the number 5 lovelanguages.com. I believe it's a .com. And you just select, there's all different ones. If you're a parent, if you're married, if you want your child to take it, which by the way, great tip. You select which one you want to take, and then you take that quiz. And it will tell you your 5 love languages. And you can rank anywhere. You can have a 0 and 1 where all your others are numbered. You can have one that ties, and your love language does change as you grow. So even if you used to be one love language a couple years ago, you might be different now. So you can go ahead and take it. And it's a free assessment. And I love that. So let's talk over these love languages. Acts of service is when someone does something for you, and that's how you feel loved. So it could be a significant other, a child, a neighbor, a friend, and any sort of act of service that is encouraging to you. So you could be encouraged if someone changes your oil, if someone helps with dinner or laundry, if someone helps you with a big project, anything like that would be an act of service. I am tied for acts of service. And so when my husband works on our house, I'm super encouraged. The next one I want to talk about is words of affirmation. That's also my other tied love language. So, words of affirmation is when you share with someone how much you care for them, how much they've impacted you, how much you appreciate them. And as someone, if you are a words of affirmation person, then you will feel encouraged when someone does that to you. You'll feel deeply, deeply loved by that person and deeply cared for. Next is gifts. Okay. So gifts is a little tricky for some people. I for at one point was gifts, and I was ashamed of that. And it was because I've never been a materialistic person. But what I learned was if you have a gifts love language, it doesn't have to be anything big and expensive and extravagant. It can just be a situation where someone saw something and thought of you. They might have seen flowers and picked them for you. They might have seen a bookmark and they know that you love to read. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It just is a way for the person to know that you thought of them. The next one I want to talk about is physical touch. I have a friend who, before she had kids, had a physical touch love language. And when we would sit next to each other, she had to be pressed up against me. She just needed that physical touch. So the physical touch doesn't have to be sexual. It can also be platonic, just hugging someone or touching their arm, anything like that. If you're a physical touch love language, then you get love by that physical touch. And then the last one is quality time. So Here is a little bit of a tricky part about quality time. Okay. Quality time needs to be just that. It's not about the length of time, it's about the quality of that time. So when one of my kids was quality time, it didn't matter if I had only a half an hour. Like I thought it was only a half an hour, but they felt loved when I sat and said, "What do you want to do? I've got 30 minutes to give you." And we would play a game, or we would watch an episode of their favorite show, or we would just chat, or we would go for a walk. And it doesn't matter the length of time, it matters the quality and that you're paying attention. You're not on your phone. You're not distracted in any way. So that's a little bit of a deeper dive into the five love languages. And I'm not the one who wrote it. If you go to the fivelovelanguages.com, you'll find a lot more information about it. But how this shows up is that we tend to love people in our love language. So I often find myself doing acts of service or words of affirmation to people to show them I love them. So now you might be asking, how in the world do the five love languages have anything to do with needs and boundaries? Because if you have a relationship that you would really love to see flourish, I'm not talking about something that is abusive or traumatic. I'm not talking about that. But if you are finding yourself just lacking and really hurting over a relationship, it's possible that you are not feeling loved by that person in the way that you want to be loved, because they're most likely doing what the majority of us do and loving in their own love language. So when you identify your love language, you can then communicate that to that person and say, "This is what I need from you. I need you to help me with the dishes. I need you to say yes the majority of the time when I need a little bit of help with something. I need you just to be open to me asking for help more." Um, that's just an example of the acts of service love language. So when you are better able to know yourself, then you're going to know what you need, and then you can ask for it. And again, that's a boundary. So I hope that's helpful. Would love to hear, what's your love language? Mine went from quality time. When I moved, I didn't have time and I was in a whole new place. I knew almost nobody. And that's when it changed to gifts. And now it's the words of affirmation and acts of service. So let me know, what's your love language? Have your kids take it. It's so helpful to know how to love your children. My oldest two were gifts at one point, and my youngest wanted so bad for his to be gifts as well, but it was quality time. And that's okay. There's no better or worse love language. It's really just what speaks to you right now. And being able to identify what speaks to you could help you uncover your need. All right. I love you. I want the best for you. I hope that as this holiday season is coming closer, that you just take a minute and ask yourself, what do I need? What could I use help with? Where might I need to draw a boundary? Because we don't want this time of year to be extra stressful for you. Okay. I will see you next week.